We are in Parashat Korach. In one way I can say my favorite parasha, and on the other side I shouldn't say my favorite, but we have a series now of parashot. Like I mentioned the last couple of weeks, that the book of Bereshit is the beginning of history, the history of the planet, the world, mankind, our nation, and so forth. The book of Shmot is the story of Egypt and the exile and the redemption and going out of Mitzrayim. The book of Vayikra is mainly laws. Now we come to the book of Bamidbar. The book of Bamidbar, I call it the soap opera of the desert. Because they were in the desert for 40 years. What did they do there all day long? So I want to know what they did. So now we have 1 week after the other encounters that happen in the desert. Now what do you see? Only Lashon Hara. With the week of the spies, Shlach Lecha, they spoke Lashon Hara about Israel. Korach, Lashon Hara about Moshe. Next week is Chukat, Miriam is talking Lashon Hara about Moshe. The following week, Balak, then Bilam and Balak are talking Lashon Hara about Israel. All the time, everybody's gossiping and talking and slandering. So the reason why I'm saying one of my favorites is because it's one of the most powerful messages, which is yet so simple but yet so profound, is the whole idea of Lashon Hara and slandering and hate and jealousy. And you know why it's so powerful? Because we have it in our generation and it's dominating in our life. But nevertheless, there's so much more to talk about Korach. Today I want to talk about a little bit, it's the topic of Korach, but a little bit different. And to start the class, I have to make a note that everybody in this world has at least one person that bothers him. That's how it works. And some people, there's 10 people like that. But the reality is that every person in this world, there's going to be at least one person that bothers him. Not only bothers him, hurts him, causes him sorrow, causes him anger, fights with him, argue with him, her, competition, does bad things, so much does sorrow. The person says, I wish this person would not exist. 7.5 billion people on this planet, everybody has at least one person that is that person that I just told you about. And the sad reality is that sometimes we have 2, 3, and sometimes 20. But to make one thing clear, everybody has this type of person in their life. Sometimes it's a very close person, can be a brother, a cousin, a parent. Sometimes it's a neighbor. Sometimes it's a random person. And usually what happens, there's like shifts. You live here, so this person would be the nudnik. You relocate to a whole different place in the world, there'll be another nudnik, another person that does that. So now comes the $1 million question. How do you deal with that person? What do you do with this person? Do you hire a hitman to assassin him or her, chas v'shalom? Don't take my advice, I'm just being extreme. How do you deal with this person that is bothering you, hurts you, does sorrow to you, and so forth? Now, going back again to what I said, 7.5 billion people in the world, there's not one person in the world that has an easy life. No such a thing. Everybody has burdens. Everybody has challenges. Everybody has something. Even if you can point at a person and says, that person looks like everything's okay, well, maybe right now everything's okay. From 80 years of his life, 5 years are okay. 75 years is a challenge. Besides, you can never judge a book by its cover. People look like everything is good, but go to their home, go to their mind, go to their heart. Everybody has problems. That's the reality. Now, let's go now to the hero of our story, which is the hero of the Torah, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu, our teacher, the master that brought us the Torah, the leader that went up to the heavens. He took us out of Mitzrayim. Everybody should love Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody should adore Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody should go crazy off of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Look at the man. He takes us out of Mitzrayim. He leads us in the desert. He brings us the Torah. Never did anything bad to anybody. Look at the history of Moshe Rabbeinu. Didn't even hurt a fly. Wouldn't you think that seemingly everybody should be the biggest fan of Moshe Rabbeinu? Yes, that's what you would think. But Moshe Rabbeinu also had a few great fans. They didn't like him too. Moshe Rabbeinu was not the number one citizen of the world. Moshe Rabbeinu specifically had 2 people that constantly bothered him day after day after day, from the age of 20, some say the age of 12. We're going to go through the history and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, there were two people. From the second that we heard about Moshe Rabbeinu being a teenager, they were bothering him. They were going after him. That's my addition, lawsuits and problems and nagging, and two guys. Now, how does Moshe Rabbeinu react to them? First of all, what did they do to him? And more than that, what Moshe Rabbeinu did to retaliate or to do anything. This is what I want to focus on today. First of all, just that we understand who are these two people that I'm talking about, is Datan and Aviram. These are the two shmegegs that are troublemakers. What did they do to him? We're going to go now through the history. What's important is what Moshe does to them. And that's what I want to take from that. What do I do for the ones that I didn't do anything? Ask yourself, I'm sure you don't even have to ask yourself, how many times is a neighbor that bothers you? What do you want from me? I didn't do anything to you. Why are you on my case all day long? A neighbor, a brother, whatever. But I didn't do it. Mainly if I did something. But I didn't do nothing. What do you want from me? Now let's see what our teacher is teaching us. I told you many times, in our past we have a lot of history heroes. They all got titles. Avram Avinu, David HaMelech, Aaron HaKohen, Yosef HaTzadik. Look how many titles. Moshe, which title did he get? Rabbeinu. Technically he should have got Moshe HaMelech. He was a king. Or Moshe HaNavi. He was the prophet. Shmuel got the Navi one. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu get? Rabbeinu, our teacher. Which means that we have to look at Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the image of what a teacher needs to do. That's what I need to do. Now let's see what our teacher does. Now let's go into this. This week's parasha, Moshe Rabbeinu has a very close fight. It's in the house. Korach. Korach is a cousin. First cousin. Can you imagine how devastating this lawsuit is? This is not a lawsuit from some schmo in the neighborhood. His cousin, his own cousin, is coming against him. And how? Who? Gathering with him half the nation. Now, what are they really telling him in this argument? Get out of here. We don't want you. We had enough with you. We want re-elections, how they make in Israel. Every 2 months they make elections. We don't like you. We want you out. That's what they're saying to Moshe Rabbeinu. Get out of our life. Can you imagine Moshe Rabbeinu with after what he'd been to? First of all, I can already guarantee to you that if it was up to Moshe Rabbeinu, he would say, thank you so much. I had enough. I want to retire. Give me my bituach leumi. Shalom. Leave me alone. If Moshe Rabbeinu could. But nevertheless, just imagine the lawsuit. I'm saying a lawsuit. But what he's getting here, his own cousin, and everybody around. I mean, Korach came here with 250 heads of Sanhedrot. Korach was a politician. He carried with him everybody. I told you already, to get a little bit off the subject, just to understand the severity. There's a great tzaddik called Moshe Teitelbaum. He's known as the Ismach Moshe. He is the founder of the Chassidut, of the Chassidic group Satmar. Satmar, Vishnitz, the whole group. He was a great, great tzaddik. In one of his books that is called the Ismach Moshe, in the introduction, he's saying how he knows all his reincarnations. He knew all his past lives. I told this story many, many times. I'm just going to give you the short version of it. But he says that he remembers being in the desert at the time of the machloket between Moshe and Korach. And his students asked him, so which side did you take? And he said the Yetzer Hara was so strong, everybody went to Korach. Everybody was on Korach's side. So his students told him, so who did you take? He says, I was Nimna, I was in the middle. Neutral, not here, not here. But he says it was such a Yetzer Hara, everybody went against Moshe Rabbeinu. But nevertheless, we have here a whole argument, and you would think that who's the problem here? Korach. That's what you would think is the problem. Who else you think is the problem? On ben Pelet from the tribe of Reuven. These were the troublemakers. Who were the troublemakers? The 250 people that came with them? These guys, Moshe says, these guys I can deal with. These are not a problem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I don't, it doesn't affect me what Korach is saying. There were two people here that Moshe Rabbeinu says, these are the troublemakers. I will deal with Korach. I will deal with On ben Pelet. On ben Pelet was the descendant from the tribe of Reuven that went in cahoots with Korach. Moshe Rabbeinu says, these are not a problem, I'll deal with it. There are other two troublemakers. Who are them? Datan and Aviram, the son of Oholiav, ben Reuven, the son of Oholiav, the son of Reuven. These were the troublemakers, Datan and Aviram, and we heard about them many times. Now, we learned from that the real enemies of Moshe Rabbeinu was not Korach. Korach just had an agenda. Korach was a politician. He wasn't an enemy. The enemies were Datan and Aviram. These were the troublemakers, and this is what we need to focus on. Now, no question here. I'm not minimizing from the act of Korach. Korach was a troublemaker, but Korach was just jealous. Korach just wanted power. He had an agenda, and and Moshe Rabbeinu says, "I will deal with Korach. No problem. We can go to a court and figure it out." So I'm not minimizing Korach. Korach did some bad things. He went totally against Moshe Rabbeinu, but Korach had an agenda. It was jealousy. He wanted power. He wanted to be in control and so forth. But the real problem makers, the troublemakers, are Datan and Aviram. To more emphasize what I'm trying to say, then I'm going to tell you a story, because the problem that with Korach was jealousy, not anything else. I told you before when we were looking at Tikkun HaMidot, but specifically what happens with Korach, it started with jealousy. Jealousy developed hate. The hate developed the argument, the machloket, and needless to say, how was it used with Lashon Hara? So we have to first understand what does it mean, jealousy. There's a story that there's a woman who she always was jealous. She was jealous of everything that was around her. Any person had a nice car, jealous of that person. That person had a nicer purse, jealous. Constantly jealousy. Jealousy is one of the worst character traits. And her dream was to marry a wealthy man so he can buy her everything that she wants and so forth. Okay. Unfortunately, she married a very simple guy and barely had any money. They were having a very simple and hard life. One day, the man worked in something equivalent to like a city hall, and he was invited to a ballroom, to a big party of all the big shots. And of course, for them was like, okay, one night we can feel like high society. Okay, he goes and rents a tuxedo. She goes and she borrows from her neighbor, who was very wealthy, a very expensive necklace to look good. Okay, they go to this party. For one night they feel very, very special and rich. On their way back, something happens. She misplaced the necklace. She can't find it. They go home. What are we going to do now? This necklace, how are we going to pay for that? So the woman starts thinking, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. The man says, listen, we're people of honesty. Listen, we lost the necklace. Let's just go and buy a new one. We'll take loans. We'll mortgage the house, whatever. We'll pay for it. We'll pay. Okay, they go and mortgage the house. They get money. They buy this necklace, this fancy necklace, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. They buy a new one and they give it to the lady. Okay, now their life became a living hell. She worked 3 jobs. He worked 3 jobs just to pay the loans, to pay back for this necklace. 10 years later, the neighbor who gave her the necklace, she sees her in the street, and the woman is already run down and old and aged, and she was like, what happened to you? So she says, listen, I'll be honest with you. Remember 10 years ago when I borrowed that necklace? That night I lost the necklace, and we had to buy a new one, and we mortgaged our house, and we had to work and everything, and our life became a disaster. The neighbor says, why didn't you come to me? You know that the necklace that I gave you was a replica. It was worth $5. You think I would give you the real one? I gave you the fake one. Why didn't you come and tell me that? So you see, sometimes what the power of jealousy, what it causes a person, can ruin their life. They're running after something that doesn't belong to them, which is one of the worst sins, by the way. It's the last commandment from the 10 commandments. Lo tachmod. Lo tachmod means don't be jealous. Be happy with what Hashem gave you. Why do you desire something that doesn't belong to you? And when you do, be prepared for your life to be a devastation. Your life will go bad. You know, the Talmud says about a person who's jealous, rekev atzamot kinah. The person that has jealousy, the bones get rotten from how it eats them from inside. Bones. The sage says, Rekev atzamot, the bones rot from jealousy. Jealousy is a very bad character trait. So this is jealousy, because we have to understand what was going on with Korach. What was the big problem with Korach? Okay, so somebody else became the head of the family. Big deal, so somebody else got it. So what? Anyways, now we see that the jealousy is already a source of a big problem. What's interesting here, there's a commentary by the Ibn Ezra, and he says that usually jealousy is when somebody is very close to you. You don't get jealous of a Hollywood movie star. I'll never be a star. Why would I be jealous now of a great athlete? I'm not even into the sports. Usually I'm jealous of somebody that is very close to me. Why? Because I can also do that. So I'm not going to be really jealous somebody drives in front of me with this, fancy car. I'll never have this car. But usually I will be jealous of something in front of me. That's usually, not all the cases. Why? Because that's something that he got it. I can also get it. What's the big difference between me and him? He doesn't look so special. So that's what the Ibn Ezra says, that usually jealousy will come from something that is very, very close to me. Why? Because I have the feeling that I can also do that. I can also achieve this. Now, this is the problem with Korach. Now let's see what's the problem with Datan and Aviram. So we understand that Korach was jealous. End of story. Don't need to put too much commentary here. Korach was jealous, which is mind-boggling, because like I told you, Korach was a billionaire. He was the Bill Gates of the generation. You know that up until today, in Israel, you want to define somebody rich, you say, Ashir ka Korach, rich like Korach. So first of all, you're a billionaire. Second of all, he was a politician. Everybody liked him. He was very, very favorable by anybody. He was a Talmid Chacham. He knew the Torah inside out. You know the whole story. He came to Moshe, start questioning. Talit shekulat tchelet. Haim chayevet betzitzit. A talit is covered with a tchelet. Does it need a tzitzit? A house full of books. Does it need a mezuzah? He was also a Talmid Chacham. So what's your problem, Korach? Jealousy. That's it. We see where jealousy takes you. Jealousy takes you to Gehenom. Now let's see what's the problem with Datan and Aviram. They were the problem makers. Why? What was the problem of Datan and Aviram? What was the thing that bothered them with Moshe Rabbeinu? So the title of their problem was one word: hate. That's it. Baseless hate. They hated him. And I don't think this is something so shocking. In our generation too, you see the sinat chinam. Why do you hate him? I don't know, I just hate him. The second temple was destroyed from sinat chinam. Why do you hate another person? Because he's dressed different than you. Because he doesn't follow the same path you follow? Hate. This is another big problem we have. Now, interestingly, let's now start going into more details into the parasha to start understanding. In the dialogue between Korach and Moshe in this week's parasha, Moshe is trying to have a dialogue with Korach. Korach doesn't talk. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. No conversation here. With Datan and Aviram, they're completely ignoring even Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu sends to call them from their tent. We're not coming. Can you imagine the chutzpah? The boss is calling you, the king is calling you, I don't want to talk to him. So you see already the type of the dialogue that we see here. The Orach Chaim, he says that they didn't have any other reason, Datan and Aviram, just hate. That it was only hate. And where did this hate come from? From complete evil. Ragamur. That's what the Orach Chaim is a commentary. He says the only reason that Datan and Aviram behaved like that was hate, and that hate came from complete evil. Ragamur. And usually what would be the case? That evil will always hate the good. Moshe is good. He was the ultimate good. By default, evil hates good. That's how it works. Put one good person on this side, anybody who's evil will hate this person. But why? Why? How can you hate Moshe? What did he do? The guy is already in his 80s. He's already retired. He goes out of his way. Look what he did. He had to go and fight Paro for a whole year. And look what Moshe Rabbeinu went through. Moshe Rabbeinu was so honest. He didn't take anything to himself. He didn't ask for anything. What normal reason would you have to hate Moshe Rabbeinu? Can you give me one reason to hate Moshe Rabbeinu? What did he do? He didn't do nothing. Now, the Torah is full of hints, and the Torah loves giving us hints. And we see that at any, so to say, junction in Moshe Rabbeinu's life, there's a certain word that repeats itself, and this is the hint that the Torah is giving us. Every time there's some type of change in Moshe Rabbeinu's life, the Torah will say one word, and this word is a hint of what we need to find. What is this word? Anashim, people. Now we'll go a little bit through the history that you'll see what I'm talking about. But every time that something happens in Moshe Rabbeinu's life, you'll see the word Anashim. Anashim means people. And usually it would say that Kamim Anashim lehavek becha. People are coming to go against you. Now, where do we find the first time the story with the Anashim? Moshe Rabbeinu is born. They hid him 3 months. Then you know the story. They put him in the little teva, in the ark, put him on the Nile. The daughter of Paro finds him. Okay, Miriam comes. She finds she tells her, let me find you somebody to breastfeed him. And then, suddenly fast forward, and Moshe is an older boy. Before I told you 20, 12, there's difference of opinions. One midrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu was 20, when the next time when it says that he came out, and one midrash says that he was 12. But nevertheless, the story is that Moshe Rabbeinu grows in the palace of Paro. One day he goes out of the palace, and what does he see? This is a famous story. This is in the book of Shemot. He sees an Egyptian hitting a Jewish man. What does Moshe Rabbeinu do? He kills the Egyptian. Vayifen ko vako. Moshe Rabbeinu looks aside. He sees nobody's there. He says the holy name of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Boom, he kills the Egyptian. And he buries him in the ground. That's the story. The next day, Moshe Rabbeinu goes out again from the palace. What does he see? 2 Jewish people fighting with each other. He comes and tells them, why are you fighting? What does one of them answer to him? Oh, you now want to kill us like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? Now Moshe says, how do you know? How did you find out? I looked around. Vayifen ko vako. Moshe Rabbeinu looked around. No, there was no cameras. How do you know that I killed the Egyptian? Achen noda adavar. It was known. How did Moshe Rabbeinu now? It says, how do you know that I was the one? Now, who are these 2 people that they were fighting with each other? That was Datan and Aviram. Now, how did this whole thing happen? First of all, we have to understand that these 2 people they were fighting, that was Datan and Aviram. And what did they end up doing? They went and snitched Moshe Rabbeinu to Paro, that he killed the Egyptian. Right away, there was a verdict. Paro wanted to kill Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had to flee, to run away from Mitzrayim for 60 years. If we're going by the opinion that Moshe Rabbeinu then was 20, then he disappeared for 60 years. If we go by the opinion he was 12, then it's 68 years. But nevertheless, the story goes that the first day Moshe Rabbeinu kills the Egyptian, the next day he finds 2 Jews that are Jews, Bnei Ivriim, Hebrews that are fighting. Who are these 2? Datan and Aviram. And they say, oh, you want to kill us like you killed the Egyptian? Oh my gosh, how did you find out? They go and snitch to Paro that Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian, and Moshe Rabbeinu has to run away from Mitzrayim. That's the story. Now, there's a lot of unbelievable commentaries on that, just to give you an idea, because that kind of will strengthen the idea what was going on there. First of all, how did Natan and Aviram know that Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian? What was going on there? Not only that, who was the Ivri, the Jew that Moshe Rabbeinu saved from the Egyptian? Was Datan. So what was going on there? So the story says, if you look at Rashi, go back to the book of Shemot, that Moshe Rabbeinu saves Datan's life, But what was the story? That the Egyptian sent Datan and Aviram were the kapos, by the way. They were the shotrim. If you remember when Moshe Rabbeinu went into Paro, and Paro made it worse, and when Moshe Rabbeinu went out of Paro, people came to argue with him. Who was the ones who came to argue with him? The kapos. They were called shotrim. The ones that were in charge of the people making the clay, the levanim, the bricks. So the story says, this is what Rashi says, that the Egyptian that Moshe killed, he sent Datan to work, and during the day he went into the house of Datan and he was with his wife. Now Datan comes and he finds the Egyptian with his wife, so they fight. And that's when the Egyptian was fighting Datan. Now comes the next day, so why did Datan and Aviram fight? So the story says that Datan gave a get to his wife. Her name was Shulamit. He gave her a get. She got very upset, and she ran to Aviram to tell him he wants to give me a get. Now here comes a big problem, because it says in the Midrash that the wife of Datan was the sister of Aviram. And she was upset that Datan is giving her a get, so he didn't want to be with her because she was with the Egyptian. So she runs to her brother to tell him to fix it up. But now comes a big question. But Datan and Aviram are brothers. So what, Datan was married to his sister? That's already putting us in some weird complication. So there is an opinion in the Midrash that she was a sister, but not from the same mother, different fathers. The Datan and Aviram were brothers from one father, and Shulamit was a brother from them. It was before Matan Torah. They were able to get married. But anyways, we already see that there was some type of a big family matter here. So Datan was the one who was fighting the Egyptian. Who comes and saves him? Moshe Rabbeinu saves him. Now, how did Datan and Aviram know that Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian? They were the ones, they were involved in the whole story. So of course they know what was going on there. Moshe Rabbeinu was like, how did they know that I killed him? Because they were involved. Datan and Aviram were involved. That comes and explains to us, we're not going to go into all the commentaries in the Midrashim, that's for the Parashat of Shmot. But that already comes to arouse to us something to understand why Datan and Aviram will hate Moshe Rabbeinu so much. He knows the dirty laundry. Moshe Rabbeinu knows what was going on then. Oh, wait a minute, you were married to your sister? What was going on here? You were involved in a murder? So Moshe Rabbeinu knew some insights. That's already a good enough reason to hate Moshe Rabbeinu. But nevertheless, this is the first time that Moshe Rabbeinu has an encounter with Datan and Aviram. What's interesting is that Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who saved Datan from the Egyptian. Okay. So now we have an idea a little bit why Datan and Aviram can hate Moshe Rabbeinu. But anyways, we can understand that that's somehow involved with the get that Datan wanted to give his wife, Shulamit. Anyways, that's a part of the story. Okay, let's fast forward 60 years. Moshe Rabbeinu comes back to Mitzrayim, and he becomes a Moshe Rabbeinu. He runs away from Mitzrayim. What happened to Moshe Rabbeinu? Where was Moshe Rabbeinu 60 years? Where did he disappear? So there's a lot of stories, a lot of midrashim. What happened to Moshe Rabbeinu? Okay, so we know he went to Yitro, he married Tzipora. But where was he? So we know Moshe Rabbeinu was a king in the land called Cush. Moshe Rabbeinu was in jail for 10 years like Yosef HaTzadik. Oh, there's a lot of stories with Moshe Rabbeinu. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu becomes a Moshe Rabbeinu and he comes back to Mitzrayim, and what does he do? He goes into Paro and he starts negotiating. What's the result? Moshe Rabbeinu is kicked out of the chamber of Paro. Get out of here. Not only that I'm not going to make it better, now I'm going to make it worse. Okay. And these two shmegegs, Datan and Aviram, they still hate Moshe Rabbeinu. They remember, even though 60 years passed, they didn't forget a thing. Now, let's fast forward another year. Comes the 16th day of the month of Iyar. Do you know what happened on that day? You should know, it's a very auspicious day. The 16th day of Iyar, Tidzayin B'di B'Iyar. What happens that day? The man comes from the heavens. Ooh, I wouldn't mind having man instead of going to the supermarket every day and paying thousands of shekels. But nevertheless, the man comes from the heavens. Right away, Moshe Rabbeinu tells everybody, we get the man in the morning, we get the man at night. Friday, we get 2 portions. Not only that you're not allowed to take more portions, you have to finish it that day. If you don't finish it, what happens? It will rot. Datan and Aviram says, oh yeah? On purpose, they left it overnight. If you remember, it says, Vayu Anashim. Constantly we find the word Anashim. Vayu Anashim, that they left it all night, and what happened? Vayivash, and it became full of mold, and there was worms. Datan and Aviram says, we're not going to listen to you. You says to us to finish it, we're not going to. We're going to go against you. Anything that you say, we're going to go against. Why? Dafka. I don't even know how you say dafka in English. There's not even a word for the word dafka in English. Dafka, just because.
On purpose.
On purpose. It's not really on purpose. On purpose will be bechavana. But dafka is, I couldn't find every word, but the point is that dafka means on purpose I'll do it to you. Just because you said A, I will say B. So when it says vayotiru anashim, and men left some, who are these people? Datan and Aviram. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said. He says A, we'll say B. Okay, let's fast forward again. Last week, Parashat Shlach Lecha. Again we find the word ish. Vayomru ish el echav, and one said to his brother, Nashuva Mitzrayma. Let's go back to Egypt. Who are these two people who said that? Datan and Aviram. Again we find every time this ish, anashim. And again, last week we read in Parashat Shlach Lecha that when the whole thing happened, if you remember, there was a plot of a few men. Let's go back to Mitzrayim. Last week I explained in length why it says Mitzrayim and not Mitzrayim. It should say Mitzrayim, but nevertheless it said Mitzrayim. Nevertheless, what's going on here? So we see Datan and Aviram, they have hate to Moshe Rabbeinu with a passion. 60 years, get over it. So he did something. Big deal. You carry such hate? What did Moshe Rabbeinu do to you? He didn't do nothing but good to you. Well, what's your big deal? And even, let's say he did something that you're not so happy about. Let it go. Move on with your life. Why do you have to be so full of hate? So the person did it. Let's say Moshe Rabbeinu did something. Yalla, no, forgive him and move on. So what's really going on here? I told you before that Shlomo Melech says, Ze l'umat ze bara Elokim. Kadosh Baruch Hu always creates something with a mirror, with an opposition. The Maharal from Prague says that every person in this world has a l'umat ze, has somebody who's going to be opposing him. You know why? Because the person needs to have some type of free choice. Now, if everybody would love me, how am I going to battle hate, jealousy, and slandering? And so I have to have bchira. Somebody has to be against me. If you see somebody that everybody loves, something's wrong here. When you see, how do you know a real rabbi? It's because he has a lot of enemies. If everybody loves him, he's not a real rabbi. Something's wrong here. A real rabbi, everybody hates. He has a lot of enemies. He has a lot of followers, but he has a lot of enemies. Look in the history, you're not going to find one rabbi that was popular. Okay. But nevertheless, the Maharal from Prague says, everybody in this world, rabbi, not rabbi, doesn't matter, has a l'umat, has one person that has to go against. Why? Because I have to activate my bechira, my choice. Why specifically my choice? Because if somebody hates me, you know what they're going to do? They're going to slander me. Now it's my choice if I slander back or if I don't react. That person will talk against me, will lie, will plot against me, will sue me, will annoy me. Now I have a choice. What do? Do I react or not? So now we have to understand what's the deal with Datan and Aviram here. Okay, this is where we have to ask the question. Not is why Datan and Aviram hate Moshe Rabbeinu. That's not the question. The question is, how does Moshe deal with it? That's what we want to know. The fact that Datan and Aviram hate Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, they hate him. Can you explain why people hate you? I'm sure you know a few people that are not your biggest fans. I know a few that are not my biggest fans. You ask them why they hate me? I don't know why they hate me. I didn't do anything to them. Whatever, jealousy, hate. But it's irrelevant why they hate me. What's relevant is, what do I do? How do I behave? So when it comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, between us, who cares why Datan and Aviram hated him? They hated him, end of story. The question here is, how does Moshe deal with it? That's what I want to know. Now, let's go into the parasha. In this parasha happens a very devastating situation that the ground opens and everything is swallowed into the ground. Moshe Rabbeinu is warned. Right before this whole big happening, if you remember, Korach comes and argues with Moshe. What does Moshe say? Okay, let's see what the Shem says. And there's a whole show here. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu is being warned, and Hashem tells him, you got to be careful, and I want you to warn everybody that the ground is going to open. And that's exactly what happened. The ground opened, and everything got swallowed. Not only Korach got swallowed, anyone who was associated with Korach got swallowed. That's what I keep telling people. We know that Lashon Hara is a very severe thing. Lashon Hara is an umbrella for slandering, gossiping. Lashon Hara is the truth, by the way. Lashon Hara is when I say the truth about somebody. I'm not saying anything but the truth, but there's no benefit here. Slandering is when I lie about another person. Gossiping is that I just talk about a person. Ooh, Lashon Hara is Lashon Hara is a big title, but nevertheless, I highly recommend everybody to learn about the laws of Lashon Hara, because we got to be really careful with how we speak. I spoke about it not too long ago when I explained that Lashon Hara is worse than forbidden relations, idol worship, and bloodshed altogether. The three major sins that we're carrying with us from creation of the world. I mean, who did these three sins? Adam HaRishon. And later on, everybody kept repeating it, and that was caused the first temple to be destroyed. Bloodshed, Shfichut Damim, Avodah Zarah, idol worship, and Gilui Arayot, and forbidden relations. The three sins that one should kill himself and not to do them. Yarek ve'bal yavor. Before you do idol worship, kill yourself. Don't even go to that direction and kill yourself. And Lashon Hara is worse than all three of them together. The Zohar says that a person speaks Lashon Hara and lo chalek l'olam haba. You lose your olam haba. You completely lose your olam haba. Now, worse than all that is the one who listens to the Lashon Hara. Just say, I don't want to hear. Yo, but you know what so-and-so did? I don't care. Even though I really want to hear, I don't want to hear. So the ones who listen to the Lashon Hara is worse, and you know who's worse than them? The ones who believe the Lashon Hara. So you have the ones who talk Lashon Hara, and again, Lashon Hara is a title. Lashon Hara can be slandering, can be telling the truth, gossiping, everything. So the first is the one who talks Lashon Hara. Then, worse than that, the ones who listen. The worst is the ones who believe it. Really? That's what he did? I told you not too long ago, somebody that I'm doing some type of a transaction with, somebody told him something about me. He was a mensch. You know what he did? He called me. I just heard this and this about you. Is it true? I said, it's a complete lie. Thank you so much. That's it. 10-second call. That's all it takes. I call him back. I told him, I have to congratulate you. You are the first one who actually asked if it's true. The other few hundreds that heard it believed it. So the ones who are accepting the Lashon Hara and believing it is even worse than that. Ask. You hear so-and-so did this and that. You already heard it. Call the person. Is this true? Can you prove that it's not? Yeah, it's not true. Toda Rabba, thank you so much. So Moshe Rabbeinu is told by Hashem, go and warn everybody, because anybody who's associated will be swallowed into the ground. Okay, what does Moshe Rabbeinu does? He goes to the tent of Datan and Aviram. That's what Moshe does. He runs away from the show and he goes to the tent of Datan and Aviram, and he takes with him a bunch of people. It's hard to understand what's going on here. Okay. What does it say in the parasha? Vayakom Moshe. Moshe gets up. Vayelech el Datan ve'Aviram, and he goes to Datan and Aviram. Vayilchu acharav ziknei Israel, and he takes with him all the elderlies, the rabbis, the heads. Moshe Rabbeinu does the whole show, and he goes to the tent of Datan and Aviram. That's a leader. Now, why are you going to them, Mr. Moshe? Don't you know they hate you? Don't they know they're against you? Why are you going there? Moshe Rabbeinu is first of all going to warn everybody. Listen, do tshuva. It's about to happen. We have a few brave people in our generation, the Tay people. Do tshuva. It's about to happen. The redemption is coming. Do tshuva. This can come in a storm. Do tshuva. It's something. Don't you see something's happening? Do tshuva very quick. So Moshe Rabbeinu, why are you going to the tent? I have to warn. That's my job. I'm the leader. I have to warn everybody, even Datan and Aviram. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Midrash says that he went to Datan and Aviram, what's called lehatrot, is to warn them, to tell them, do tshuva, I forgive you. Your problem was with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Told you not too long ago, somebody came to me and my wife, and he says, I want to apologize because I slandered you and your wife. He came to us and he said, I want to apologize, talk Lashon Hara about you. So my wife is a very kind lady, and she right away said, I forgive you. So he told me, do you forgive me? I said, no. So he says, why don't you forgive me? I said, well, go around and tell now everybody the truth. What you said about me, it's wrong. And when you come back, I'll forgive you. So he got a little bit of discouraged, and I told him, listen, between us, I was never upset. I'm not angry. There's nothing to forgive. You don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with Hashem. I say every night, Kriyat Shema Lamitan. You know what I say before I go to sleep? I hereby forgive any person that angered me. Ben begufi, ben bemamoni. It doesn't matter my body, my money. Doesn't matter. I forgive everybody. I don't have a problem with you. I don't need to forgive you. You have a problem with Hashem, not with me. Same thing here. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you think I have a problem with you? I don't care. You have a problem. The Midrash says Moshe Rabbeinu went and warned everybody, including Datan and Aviram. Rashi says something very interesting. Rashi says, Kasavar she'isu lo panim. Rashi says he had some type of a hope, or he thought maybe in the last moment they'll do tshuva. Rashi says about Moshe Rabbeinu, he thought, Savar, that maybe Yisu lo panim. Maybe they say, you know what, Moshe? It's time to forgive. It's time to do peace. You're right. So Moshe Rabbeinu, till the last moment, had some type of hope. Maybe the last moment they'll do tshuva. Look what a leader, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu could easily give the order and get rid of them. But he had hope that maybe they'll do tshuva. Datan and Aviram. So what's really happening here? What is the Torah trying to tell me? I obviously have to see what's going on here. Moshe Rabbeinu cannot fathom the idea that two other Jews are going to go to hell and be punished. He can't fathom. He doesn't care what they did towards him. He cares that there are out there two people, that maybe there's a spark of good in them, and he can't fathom why would they go, why should they be punished. Most people, if you put in front of them their enemy, they will wish for their enemy to explode. Who wishes for their enemy, and I'm talking about not an enemy from across the border, a real enemy that wants to kill you. I'm talking about somebody in the family that is trashing you. Who prays for their well-being? Somebody does something bad to you, all day long you pray for them to explode. Somebody sues you or bothers you, all day long you're saying, Hashem, get rid of this headache. And Moshe Rabbeinu wants them to do tshuva. Moshe Rabbeinu had hope that after 60 years of hate, he will be able to make them do tshuva. That was his hope. That's a Moshe Rabbeinu.
That's why he's our teacher.
Exactly. That's why it's called Rabbeinu. That's exactly the point. Is what do I need to learn from that? Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't give up from Datan and Aviram. Maybe they'll do tshuva. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you can throw stones at me, you can slander me, you can talk whatever you want about me. I don't care. This is a real leader. We know that David HaMelech, there's a very famous story with Shimei ben Gera, another star that came and he comes and he curses David HaMelech. Right away, the chief of staff, Yoav ben Tzuria, is standing with David HaMelech. He's about to pull out the sword. How dare you curse the king? David HaMelech stops him and says to him, Hashem amar lo kalel. God told him to curse. That's a real leader. Forget about a leader. That's how it should be. You get offended because somebody did something bad to you? Nothing happens to you without the permission of Hashem. So if somebody's coming and giving you a problem, slandering your name, lying against you, doing anything, bothering you, why do you have a problem with that person? Your problem is with Hashem. The person is the stick. The person is the messenger. I told you so many times, take a stick now and hit a dog. You think the dog is going to bite you? The dog is going to bite the stick. The dog doesn't understand that you are holding the stick. The dog sees the stick hitting him, so the dog will bite the stick. It's the same thing with us. Somebody comes and bothers me, hurts me, goes against me. My problem is not that person. I have a problem with Hashem. Hashem is sending that person as a messenger. So today it's this person, tomorrow it will be that person. I have the problem. It's not that person. Same thing here. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you think I get affected because you called me some names or you hate me? Big deal. I just want you to do tshuva. Moshe Rabbeinu is not giving up on them. And he says, maybe they'll do tshuva. And you know, the one who hates you, the one who goes against you, the one who's plotting against you, slandering you, sometimes all it takes is for that person to hear one good word out of you. That's what it takes. Just imagine, try the reverse psychology here. Try to imagine the person that goes against you to come and tell him, I love you. How are you? You know, one time somebody went and were saying all sorts of bad things about me. And I saw that person, and you know, of course, the first reaction is to say something bad back. So I came and told him, I want to apologize to you. He's like, what? I said, I want to apologize. He's like, okay, for what? So I said, well, I don't know for what, but I must have done something real bad to you that you're so upset at me. So I want to apologize. I don't know what I did, but I want to apologize. He said, well, you didn't do anything. So I said, why are you going slandering my name all over the place? So sometimes your enemy, the one who goes against you, just needs to hear some one kind word from you.
You have to apologize.
Excuse me?
He said that.
Yeah.
And you are.
I came and apologized to him. I told him, I'm sorry. I must have done something so bad to you that you hate me so much, that you're going and talking so bad about me. So he got caught in his own tongue. But you didn't do anything. I says, so why are you saying that about me? But anyways, the point is, the person that goes against us sometimes is only waiting for one nice word from me. I get full of hate and resentment and anger when somebody goes against me. You need to be a Moshe Rabbeinu and move that anger and that ego away and say, maybe that person just wants my attention. Maybe they just need a kind word from me. Maybe they just need me to forgive them. Maybe they just need me to pray for them. I don't know. But nevertheless, the person that goes against me, I have to pray for that person to do tshuva. I should pray for that person. Nothing should happen to this person. It's exactly what we say in Kriyat Shema L'Mitah. V'lo yanesh shum adam b'sipati. I don't want anybody to be punished because of me. Why would I want somebody to be punished because of me? Now comes another question. Well, how come Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give up on them? So many years and he still doesn't give up on them? Moshe Rabbeinu knew another detail about them, and that's why he didn't give up on them. And this is where another big secret is lying there. Because one would say, okay, I understand Moshe Rabbeinu was a great tzaddik. I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu. I can't be a Moshe Rabbeinu. I don't like the people who go against me. Moshe Rabbeinu is, I'm not. But comes another question. Being as great as Moshe, how come he didn't give up on them for 60 years? So the answer is that Moshe Rabbeinu knew something that the Torah is not telling us. Let's ask, why did Datan and Aviram go out of Egypt? They didn't want to go out, obviously. Last week, we just heard them say, let's turn around, let's go back to Mitzrayim. You know how they called Mitzrayim? Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash. What did Datan and Aviram says to Moshe Rabbeinu last week in Parashat Korach? Why did you take us out of Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash into the desert to kill us? Let's go back to Mitzrayim. That's our Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash. Whoa, if you're so patriotic about Egypt, stay there. Why did they go out of Mitzrayim, Datan and Aviram? One should ask themselves. Now, let's go a little bit back into history. The Targum Yonatan ben Oziel says they came out of Egypt by chance. They weren't even planning on doing it. They didn't want to go out of Egypt, by the way. Let me tell you the story. If you remember, Moshe Rabbeinu goes to Paro, tells them, let my people go. Paro says, I'm not letting them go, I'm going to make it worse. Moshe Rabbeinu goes out of Paro. The people are waiting outside. Anashim mechakim lo. People are waiting out to Moshe. They start arguing with Moshe Rabbeinu. Lama erota? Why did you make it worse? Up until now we got to the straw. Now we have to find the straw and make our own bricks. Why did you do it worse to us? Now, Datan and Aviram, I told you, they were couples. Datan and Aviram were the shotrim, the ones that they were from the nation of the Jews, but they're the ones who were running the show. Like they used to have in Nazi Germany, Hashem Erachem, the couples, the Jews that were helping the Nazis. Nevertheless, they liked Mitzrayim. They wanted to stay in Mitzrayim. What was the story? That when Paro finally let the nation of Israel leave, they go out for 3 days. Now what happens after 3 days? They're not coming back. What does the Torah says? That people, Anashim, came back to Mitzrayim, to Paro, Barach Ha'am. They ran away. They fled. Who are these people? Datan and Aviram. They went, okay, Paro says, go and see what they're doing there. Datan and Aviram are going. They're like double agents. And then they see they're running away. They run to Paro. They ran away. Barach Ha'am. The nation ran away. Paro runs after them. Now what happens? Paro goes into the ocean. You know the whole story. I'm going very short here. Paro goes into the water. The water closes. Datan and Aviram, they see Paro drowning. And they were saved. They're swimming and they're going up on the other side of the land. And they were saved. They didn't want to go out of Mitzrayim. They just saw everybody drowning. They didn't have a WhatsApp or Facebook or CNN or ABC. They didn't know what's going on. For all they know, everybody drowned. I mean, we know Paro didn't drown, but nevertheless, they go out from the other side of the water and they, okay, we're here, let's join them. Let's go with them. They didn't plan to go out of Mitzrayim. Nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu knew something that we don't know. They had one zchut. They had one little merit that was playing for them. You know what that was that merit? First of all, we have to understand that we can't judge a person to be a complete wicked person. Even the person that you hate the most, that does unbelievable things, slanders and lashon hara and spewing lies and suing you, whatever. Everybody has at least one good spark in them. I don't care how bad they are to you. You have to find the good spark in them. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. He found one good merit that Datan and Aviram did. What is that good merit that they had? In the end of Parashat Shmot, like I told you, Moshe Rabbeinu goes into Paro. He goes out. The people who come to argue with Paro, who are these people? The Torah calls them shotrim. These are the kapos. These are the ones who are in charge of the workers, but they had to kind of mediate between the Egyptians and the workers. Or like I told you, these were the kapos, the Jews that were helping the enemy. Datan and Aviram, they were the people. What happened that time is that, if you remember, every person had to make a certain amount of bricks per day. And then would come the Egyptians and they would ask the shotrim, the kapos, did they make enough? If a person would not make enough bricks, they would get beaten. Datan and Aviram, now when everything changed, they didn't make enough bricks per day. When the Egyptians came and asked, did they make enough? Yes. Did he make enough? Yes. Did he make enough? They would lie and protect the ones who didn't make enough, and they would get the beating because there was not enough bricks. So when the Egyptians came to the shotrim, to the kapos, two of the many were Datan and Aviram, they would lie and protect. No, they made enough bricks, but they would get beaten up. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew that. Why? Because they still had a spark of good in them. Our sages say they would not willing to give over a Jew, a Bnei Israel. You can't really say a Jew because they were called Bnei Israel, but nevertheless for us to understand easy. They were willing not to give in a Jew and they to be punished. The Maharil, there's a certain rabbi, great rabbi, I don't know if many people heard about him. His name is Moshe Yoshua Leib. He's known as the Maharil Diskin. About 120 years ago, he was from the great rabbis of Yerushalayim. There was a big community in Yerushalayim. He was one of the top rabbis in Jerusalem 120 years ago. He's known as the Maharil Diskin, a very famous family, Diskin. His name is Rabbi Moshe Yoshua Diskin, Moshe Yoshua Leib Diskin. Anyways, he has many notes and scripts that he wrote about the weekly parasha, and he says that was their merit. They had one merit, that they did something good. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew about it. And we find in many places in the Torah, a person who's completely wicked but had a merit. You know, who does it sound familiar with? Look at Esav. Esav is a complete wicked individual. But he had one big merit, that he had unbelievable kibud avim. And therefore he got his head to be buried in Marat HaMachpelah. Esav did tshuva before he died. But he was a great wicked person. Everybody knows Esav. Yeah. When with all his wickedness, he still had one mitzvah, one merit, that he did unbelievable kibud av, how he respected his father. So we see here too, so Datan and Aviram are wicked, and they're against Moshe Rabbeinu, but obviously they had one merit. So what does our dear leader do? He doesn't look at the 99.9 bad. He looks at the 0.0 nothing, this little spark of goodness. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is looking at. They had a merit. What do I want to take from that? That everybody has a merit. Even the ones who are doing the worst to you. They're driving you crazy, talking bad about you, trashing your name, suing you, whatever. And everybody has somebody like this in their life. No such a thing that everybody loves you. Everybody has some type of an enemy. But even that enemy has something good. Don't look at the bad in that person and how wicked that person is. And they're saying lashon hara about you and lying against you or whatever. But they must have something good. Look at that good. Don't look at the bad. It's very easy to look at the bad. So easy to look at the bad. Become a follower of a Moshe Rabbeinu and look at the good. Must be that that person does something good. And like I told you, there's always going to be a nudnik. A nudnik is a nagger, somebody that nags all day long. There's always going to be a nudnik in your life. Doesn't matter where you live. You live here, there'll be a nudnik here. You go over there, there'll be a nudnik there. There's always going to be somebody who's bothering you. But what I want to take from that, what's the conclusion? Two things. First of all, never cut the rope. Never disqualify a person completely. Moshe Rabbeinu had hope for 60 years. Maybe they'll do tshuva. Now sometimes the person that I need to have hope to is not my enemy. Sometimes it's a parent and a child. How many times the child is completely away from the path of the Torah and the parent has tremendous turmoil for that. You never cut the rope. Maybe the person will do tshuva. How many parents come to me and tell me, my kid doesn't want to put tefillin on, he doesn't observe Shabbat, she's going out with a goy. Who Hashem Erachem, what stories I hear? What should I do? I don't want to see them in my house even. Never cut the rope. I was a few years ago in England. I went there to officiate a wedding. Two very big Hasidic families. Happened to be that the bride and the groom both went off the derech. They went off the path of the Torah. Somehow they made tshuva and they got married. So it was a very big wedding because they were all very happy that the bride and groom came back to the Torah. But in the family, there was another child that was completely off the path, and he married a non-Jewish girl, and he had a child with a baby. When it came to the family picture, the family didn't want him in the picture. They wanted him, but not her. So they come to me. I happen to be the officiating rabbi of the wedding, so they came to me. What should we do? I told them, are you out of your mind? Of course she's in the picture. What are you're completely nuts. No, but she's a goya, a shiksa, this, we don't want the kids to see, then the kids will think we're approving it, and I told them, you have an unbelievable opportunity that happened to be that he even came to the wedding. He came to the wedding only to honor his brother. You have an opportunity now. When everybody's here, put her in the picture. What's the big deal? They were so against, they wouldn't let her go into the picture. And I told them, you just lost the opportunity of a lifetime. You could have brought him back. Why are you so stubborn? And again, there's much more details into the story, but the point here is that sometimes you see, especially in families that are observant, one doesn't want to be observant. I don't wish it to anybody. What torture it is for the parent to see the child going and desecrating Shabbat or marrying off a non-Jew or eating pork or whatever. But never give up. I know any parents come and tell me, I don't want him in my house. Never cut the rope. Maybe in 60 years that person will do tshuva. Never give up on anybody. It can be your child, can be your sibling, can be anybody. You don't want to give up on anybody because maybe 60 years down the line, that person will do tshuva. And why? Because you didn't give up. Because maybe there's another chance. This is the first thing we want to take from that. And the second thing is, don't ever stop trying. Don't ever stop trying to bring somebody back to the right path. And if it's a person that constantly goes against you, don't right away say, I don't want to have anything to do with this person. Try again, try again, try again. There's a certain individual that constantly, I don't know, the person is very stubborn. He doesn't want to hear. And how many times I keep calling him, let's meet, let's talk, let's come and work it out. I know that I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing in this specific argument. He's stubborn. I could easily say, excuse my language, the hell with you, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you from all the bad things that you're doing. No, every time I see him in the street, let's meet. Every couple of weeks I text him, let's meet, let's talk, let's clear it out. Never give up. You have an argument with somebody, don't give up. Don't turn around and say that person is 100% hashagamur. Happens to be that with you there's something going on. But it could be that the person is doing unbelievable things and is unbelievable kind and many people love him or her, it doesn't matter. So we want to take the advice and to go in the footsteps of our master, Moshe Rabbeinu, that for so long they go against him and he doesn't give up. In the last moment when Hashem says, I'm going to kill them all, he still goes to the tent, maybe they'll do tshuva. Can you imagine Moshe Rabbeinu? He goes to them. They don't want to come to me? I'll go to them. The class before we talked about no ego, no gava, humble. Moshe Rabbeinu says, could have said, let them go. Let them get what they deserve, what they did to me for 60 years. But he says, maybe they'll do tshuva. Moshe Rabbeinu takes off the robe of a king and he goes to their tent. Hello, maybe one last chance before the disaster. Bezrat Hashem, we should have the right ability and the right tools and clarity to see that the person who's being used against me in my challenge, the problem is not the person. It's the challenge, how I deal with it. Don't be judgmental towards the person who's doing something bad to you. He's the Nudnik Toran. He's the nagger that is in charge right now. Tomorrow it will be somebody else. Don't carry hate and resentment towards that person. I'll tell you one last story before we're done. About a decade ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, to make a very long story short, I had a brilliant idea. My mind was into business. I saved a lot of money and we went into a business adventure to develop some software. We hired a certain individual who promised us the world. $250,000 later, we had nothing. He didn't deliver nothing. We didn't get nothing. And money went into it and time, and needless to say that I was about to lose my mind. $250,000. This is not $50, not $5,000, and it all went to nothing. And the person was constantly saying that I was the problem. You kept changing. You kept doing this. You kept doing that. I said, you didn't even deliver one thing. I didn't even know how to do it. I know I wanted to sue him, take him to the Beit Din. I didn't know what to do with this guy. Somehow it calmed down. 3 months later, the person is leaving me a voice message that I still owe him $30,000 from the last month of work. I wanted to go bonkers. I didn't know how to even, I lost my mind. Now this is not some developer offshore from India. This was a person from our community. We were praying in the same synagogue. I was the gabbai of the synagogue and he was in the synagogue. It's not some person that I never saw. And I was going crazy. I wanted to sue him. I didn't know what to do. And maybe a year this was going on. And then worse than that, he moved into my building. Every morning the elevator opens, I see his face. Every day I had to see him. He was the only Levi in the congregation. I was the gabbai. I had to call him up to the Torah 4 times a week and give him a bracha. Now, I was trying to figure out what's the test here. Is the test here that I lost so much money? No. The test was not to say anything. Can you imagine how tempting it is to stand in front of the entire community and say what he did? Not even one word. Nobody knew anything about what was going on. The test was not to be upset at him, not that the money went. Kapara on the kesef. I used to see him every morning. Can you imagine not to wish for this person to explode? Can you imagine what I had to how to control my mind that this person should not be, I don't know what, I don't even say what the mind starts playing with you. Lawsuit is nothing. That was the test. Not that I lost the money and it didn't go out to fruition. Nothing came out. It's not to judge, not to hate, not to say anything. Can you imagine? Nobody ever knew. It was the most tempting. People telling me, know what was going on with this business? Nothing. People came to tell me, why aren't you working with him anymore? Bunker. People came to tell me, do you recommend him as a... Can you imagine what a nisayon? But the nisayon was not to have any animosity or hate towards him. It was to really work on myself that he is a messenger. He's the messenger. He's the messenger. He's the messenger. My problem is with Hashem, not him. And after a while, it took about a year, it wore off. And I have no anger towards him, no hate towards him. He's a messenger. He was the Nudnik Toran of 10 years ago, and then came another Nudniks. And why am I telling you all this? Because Hashem constantly will throw somebody in our life that will do horrible things to us. And you feel that you are 100% right. I didn't do anything. But still, don't judge. Don't have judgment, don't have jealousy, don't have hate, don't have feelings of revenge. I'm gonna this, and definitely don't pray for that person to explode. Pray for that person to do tshuva. Pray for that person to go back to the right path and to understand that everything comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is really the message behind this parasha. It's not, if you talk to Shon Lara, that's one thing. Korach is now pushed aside. The real problem here is Datan and Aviran, but exactly what do we want to see from here is what Moshe Rabbeinu does, and Moshe Rabbeinu is a mensch till the last moment. Why? Because they have one good thing behind them, and maybe they'll do tshuva. Bezrat Hashem, Hashem should not put us in the situations that we have to deal with other people. Hashem should put us in situations that we actually love other people and we can apply Ahavat Israel and Chas v'Shalom not fail in Sinat Chinam and baseless hate. And hopefully if we know how to correct our midot and our path, we're going to be lucky enough to see the coming of Mashiach and the building of Beit HaMikdash.